Security footage shows a woman in blue scrubs locking the front door of a CVS in suburban Denver. 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Her name is Jessica Martinez, 34 years old, single mother of 2, working the closing shift alone because corporate cut staffing costs by 18% that quarter. What she doesn't know is that 40 minutes ago, a customer walked out that same door after asking 3 specific questions about her schedule. What she doesn't know is that customer has a key. In the next few minutes, you're going to see exactly how someone gets a key to a pharmacy they've never worked at. And when you understand the system that made this possible, you'll realize this isn't about one CVS in Denver. This is the story of how a corporate policy designed to save $127 per store per week created a vulnerability that exists in over 9,000 locations across America. And when you see what was found in aisle 7, you'll understand why Emma and Lucas still ask when mommy is coming home. Most people think he got the key from a former employee. That makes sense, right? Ex-worker gets fired, keeps the key, gives it to someone with bad intentions. That's what police thought for the first 6 hours. That's what the regional manager told the media. That's what you're probably thinking right now. Wrong. The truth is simpler, and so much worse. Because he didn't need a former employee. He didn't need to steal anything. He walked into a Home Depot 4 miles from that CVS at 2:13 p.m. on the same Tuesday. Went to the key-cutting station. Handed them a key with a tag that said Backup Pharmacy Rear. Waited 90 seconds while they cut it. Paid $3.47 in cash. Walked out. The key he brought to copy? He made that one too. 3 weeks earlier. Using a photo he took with his phone on March 8th when Jessica was helping another customer and the store keys were sitting on the counter near the prescription pickup window for exactly 11 seconds. Who was Jessica Martinez? She'd worked at that CVS for 6 years. Started as a pharmacy technician right after her certification. Worked her way up to senior tech. Took every shift they offered because she was paying off $34,000 in student loans while raising her daughter Emma, who was 9, and her son Lucas, who was 6. Every Tuesday and Thursday, she closed alone. Got off at 10 p.m. drove 20 minutes to her apartment in Aurora. Checked homework that her mother had helped the kids finish. Kissed them goodnight. She was good at her job. Customers requested her specifically. She remembered names. Medications. Asked about grandchildren and new pets. The kind of person who made corporate pharmacy feel less corporate. On March 8th, a Friday, she helped 127 customers during her shift. One of them was named David Allen Pritchard, 41 years old. She would not remember him at all. She would never get the chance to remember him. But he had noticed something by the second week. Jessica always put her keys down in the same spot when she was entering prescriptions. Counter near the computer, 3 feet from where customers stood. And when she closed on Tuesdays and Thursdays, she closed alone. David Pritchard had no criminal record. He worked IT support for a medical supply company. Lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Lakewood. Drove a 2014 Honda Civic. He'd been a customer at that CVS for 8 months. Picking up a prescription for anxiety medication every 30 days. Always using the drive-thru. Except when he didn't. Between January and March, he came inside the pharmacy 6 times. Each time he asked questions. Not weird questions. Normal questions. What time do you close? Are you here every day? Do you ever work alone? Jessica answered every question with a smile because that's what good customer service looks like. He thanked her. He left. She forgot about him 30 seconds later. The notebook was found later. 41 pages. Page 1 had her name and the pharmacy address. Page 8 had her car. Make and model. Silver 2016 Toyota Camry. Page 12 had her license plate. Page 19 had a schedule. Tuesdays and Thursdays marked with red X's. Page 23 had the layout of the pharmacy drawn from memory. Sightlines marked. Camera positions marked. A small notation that said Aisle 7, Dead Zone confirmed. Page 31 had photos printed from his phone. 6 different angles of the store keys sitting on that counter on March 8th. Page 41 had a timeline written in blue ink. March 8th, photo. March 11th, first key made. March 14th, test at 11 p.m., no alarm. March 29th, second key made. April 2nd, ready. Page 42 was blank except for one word written in the center. Disappear. For those who don't know, most commercial key-cutting machines can duplicate keys from clear photographs if you know the key type. David knew. He worked in IT, but his father had been a locksmith. He understood key codes and PIN configurations. He took those photos on March 8th, went home, enhanced them on his computer, identified the key type as a Schlage SC1, walked into a hardware store on March 11th, told them he needed a key cut from a broken key, handed them a blank he'd bought online. They cut it. He went back to the CVS at 11:07 p.m. on March 14th when the pharmacy was closed but the store was open 24 hours. Walked to the pharmacy gate, inserted the key, turned it. It opened. He stood there for 11 seconds testing if an alarm would sound. Nothing. He locked it again and left. That key worked for the interior gate but not the rear exit. So he came back on March 29th. This time asking Jessica a different question while other customers were around. This time watching where she grabbed the full set of keys from when someone needed to use the restroom in the back. A small hook under the counter. He waited until she was distracted. Leaned over. Took a photo of those keys. 2 days later, he had a second key cut. On April 2nd at 9:14 p.m., he filled his prescription at the drive-thru. Then parked in the lot 87 feet from the rear entrance and waited. His trunk was already prepared. Now we need to go back to that security footage. Jessica finishes closing procedures at 9:47 p.m. The front door is locked. The pharmacy gate is down and locked. She's doing final inventory counts. A process that takes exactly 12 minutes according to her routine. The cameras inside the pharmacy show her moving between aisles with a tablet. Scanning items. Entering numbers. At 9:51 p.m., she's in aisle 4. At 9:54 p.m., she's in aisle 6. At 9:56 p.m., she enters aisle 7. The cold medicine aisle. The only aisle where the camera angle is partially blocked by a support beam. At 9:57 p.m. and 22 seconds, the rear entrance door opens. You can't see it on the pharmacy cameras, but the main store camera picks it up. A man enters. He's wearing a dark jacket, baseball cap, medical mask, the kind everyone wore during COVID that doesn't look suspicious anymore. He moves quickly. He knows the layout. At 9:57 and 34 seconds, he reaches the pharmacy gate. He inserts a key. It opens. He enters. He closes it behind him. At 9:57 and 51 seconds, he turns the corner into aisle 7. Jessica is facing away from him, counting inventory. She doesn't hear him because the store music is playing and she has earbuds in. Something she did every closing shift to make the time go faster. Something David had noticed on his visits. Something he wrote on page 37 of his notebook. At 9:58 and 3 seconds, he's standing 6 feet behind her. 9:58 and 8 seconds, he's 3 feet behind her. 9:58 and 11 seconds, he speaks. We don't have audio, but we have her reaction. She turns. She drops the tablet. The footage shows her body language shift from startled to confused to terrified in the span of 4 seconds. And then at 9:58 and 19 seconds, she runs. She runs toward the pharmacy counter, toward the phone, toward the panic button that corporate installed after a robbery 2 years ago. But he's faster. He catches her at 9:58 and 27 seconds. The camera angle doesn't show the full interaction. We see them struggling. We see him force her backward. We see them move out of frame toward aisle 7 again, toward the camera dead zone. For the next 7 minutes and 11 seconds, they are not visible on any camera. Store cameras show no movement. No one enters. No one leaves. At 10:05 and 38 seconds, David Pritchard exits from aisle 7. He's alone. He's carrying something. A large black duffel bag that wasn't visible when he entered. But investigators would later find it stored behind boxes in aisle 7 during his test visit on March 14th. The bag is full now. He walks calmly to the pharmacy gate. He opens it. He exits through the rear entrance. At 10:06 and 3 seconds, his Honda Civic leaves the parking lot. At 10:14 p.m., Jessica's phone alarm goes off. The alarm she set every closing night to remind her to finish up and go home to her kids. It rings somewhere in aisle 7. No one is there to turn it off. The question everyone asked was, where is Jessica Martinez? Because at 10:47 p.m., when her mother called 911 after Jessica didn't answer her phone and didn't come home, police arrived at 10:52 p.m. Found the front door locked. Went around back. Found the rear door closed but not fully latched. Entered. Found the pharmacy gate closed but not locked. Entered and searched every aisle. Aisle 7 was empty. The tablet was on the floor. Her purse was on the counter. Phone inside. Wallet inside. Car keys inside. Her car was still in the parking lot. Parked in her usual spot. C17. But Jessica Martinez was gone. This is where it gets worse. Police reviewed the security footage. They saw everything I just described. They saw David Pritchard enter at 9:57 and 22 seconds. They saw him leave at 10:06 and 3 seconds. They saw the duffel bag. But here's what they didn't see. They didn't see what was in that bag. The footage quality wasn't high enough. The angle wasn't clear enough. They could see the bag was full. But they couldn't see what filled it. Could have been stolen medications. Could have been pharmacy supplies. Could have been nothing. Or it could have been Jessica Martinez. 5'4", 118 pounds. Unconscious or worse. Folded into a bag designed to hold exactly that. The medical examiner would later testify that based on the size of the bag and the time elapsed, it was possible. The defense would argue it was impossible. The jury would never get a definitive answer because they never found her body. David Pritchard was arrested 4 days later. His car was spotted at a rest stop in Wyoming, 340 miles from Denver. When officers searched his vehicle, they found the keys, the notebook, and in his trunk, that black duffel bag. It was empty. It had been cleaned with bleach. Luminol testing showed traces of blood in the bag's interior lining. DNA testing confirmed it was Jessica's blood. Not enough to prove she was dead. Just enough to prove she'd been in that bag. David's apartment was searched. They found detailed maps of rural areas in Wyoming, Colorado, and Montana. They found receipts for a shovel, plastic sheeting, lime. They found a second notebook. This one with 8 names. Jessica Martinez was number 3. They found searches on his computer. How long for a body to decompose in cold climate? National forest areas with no cell service. Can cadaver dogs detect through concrete? If you're still watching, you're part of the Last Moment community. Hit that subscribe button because we don't just cover the crime. We cover what happens after. Drop a comment below. Do you think the pharmacy could have done more to protect Jessica? The trial was the longest in Denver County history. 11 weeks. Prosecutors charged him with first-degree murder despite having no body. The evidence was the blood, the bag, the notebook, the planning, the footage. The defense argued Jessica could have survived, could have run away, could be alive somewhere. They argued the blood could have come from a minor injury. They argued the notebook was fantasy, not action. They argued reasonable doubt. The jury deliberated for 6 days. Guilty of kidnapping. Guilty of first-degree murder. Sentenced to life without parole. David Pritchard never testified. He never admitted what happened. He never told them where she was. It's been 3 years. Jessica's mother has custody of Emma and Lucas. Emma is 12 now. Lucas is 9. They still ask when Mommy is coming home. Her mother tells them Mommy is on a very long trip. But the truth is Mommy is somewhere in 2.3 million acres of wilderness. Or under concrete in an abandoned building. Or in a place no one will ever look because David Pritchard will never tell. He gets letters every month from Jessica's mother. She begs him to tell her where her daughter is so they can bring her home. Have a funeral. Have closure. He never responds. Not once in 3 years. But here's what nobody talks about. What keeps investigators awake? That second notebook with 8 names. Women number 1 and 2 were contacted after David's arrest. Woman number 1. Pharmacy tech in Boulder. Said she'd had a customer in January who made her uncomfortable. Asked too many questions. She mentioned it to her manager. Nothing was done. She quit 2 weeks later. Woman number 2. Pharmacy tech in Colorado Springs. Said she'd noticed a customer who came in frequently in February. Always when she was closing. She started varying her routine after he made a comment about her car. He stopped coming after that. Both women were on his list. Both women were being watched. Both women survived because they changed something, noticed something, reported something. Jessica Martinez was the first one who didn't. Or the first one he actually took. Because here's what the prosecution couldn't use in trial because it was too speculative, too inflammatory. But what FBI behavioral analysts noted in their report, the notebook had 8 names. Jessica was number 3. Women 1 and 2 were practice. Jessica was escalation. But what about women 4 through 8? After the trial, a journalist contacted those women. Woman number 4. Pharmacy tech in Fort Collins. Responded immediately. She said she'd quit her job in March before David was arrested because she had a customer who made her feel unsafe. He asked about her schedule. Seemed to know her car. She reported it to her manager and was told she was overreacting. She moved to a different state. Woman number 5. Pharmacy tech in Aurora. Same story. Regular customer. Too many questions. Uncomfortable interactions. She mentioned it to corporate security. They said without evidence of a crime, they couldn't do anything. She started carrying pepper spray. Women 6, 7, and 8 never responded to the journalist's requests. Their contact information was valid. They just never replied. 2 of them still work at their original pharmacy locations. One of them quit 6 months ago. No forwarding address. No social media updates. No response to multiple attempts at contact. Now here's what you need to understand. Jessica Martinez vanished on April 2nd. Her blood was found. Her DNA was confirmed. A jury convicted David Pritchard of her murder. But her body has never been found. There have been 14 organized searches. Volunteers have covered 400 square miles of wilderness areas marked on David's maps. Ground-penetrating radar has been used on 6 suspected burial sites. Cadaver dogs have searched 11 locations. Nothing. It's been 3 years. Emma and Lucas still sleep in their grandmother's house, waiting for their mother to come home. And she never will. And they don't understand why. And Jessica's mother has to explain that sometimes people go away and don't come back. And that's the truth. But it's not the whole truth. The whole truth is Jessica Martinez is somewhere that David Pritchard chose. Somewhere he planned. Somewhere he'll never reveal because he has life without parole and nothing left to lose. And the one thing he still controls is where she is. And here's the systemic failure that nobody wants to address. CVS has over 9,000 locations in the United States. After Jessica's disappearance made national headlines, corporate released a statement. We are deeply saddened by this tragedy. Employee safety is our top priority. We are reviewing our security protocols. That was April 9th. By May, internal communications showed new guidelines. Keys should be kept in locked drawers. Staff should be aware of surroundings. Nothing about ending solo closing shifts. Nothing about additional cameras in dead zones. Nothing about panic buttons that connect directly to police. Because those changes cost money. Training costs money. Staffing costs money. And CVS reported $311 billion in revenue that year. The pharmacy industry doesn't want you to know this. Solo closing shifts are standard. Walgreens does it. Rite Aid does it. The business model requires one person alone with controlled substances. Customer data. No backup. David Pritchard's notebook showed 8 weeks of observation. Jessica helped 4,000 customers in that time. She had no way of knowing customer 2,847 was planning her disappearance. And pharmaceutical chains know this is a vulnerability. Annual employee safety surveys show working alone during closing is the #1 concern. But cost-benefit analysis shows the probability of a severe incident is lower than the cost of additional staffing. So they accept the risk. They just don't accept it personally. They accept it on behalf of every pharmacy tech working alone right now. Tonight, at this exact moment, there are pharmacy workers closing alone at CVS locations in Denver, Phoenix, Houston, and Seattle. They are following the same protocols Jessica followed. They are keeping keys in the same areas. They are working understaffed shifts because corporate decided $127 per week per location is too much to spend on safety. And somewhere tonight, someone is watching them. Someone is taking photos. Someone is making plans. Someone is writing names in a notebook. And in 3 years, one of those workers might not come home. And their children will ask where mommy is. And nobody will have an answer. If you work in pharmacy, understand this. Jessica Martinez did everything right. She was professional, efficient. She followed company protocols. She worked the shift she was assigned. She closed alone because that's what corporate required. And she vanished. If you're a customer and you see someone asking too many questions, lingering too long, making a worker uncomfortable, say something. If you're a manager, stop prioritizing cost over safety. Because Jessica's mother would give everything CVS has made in profit to know where her daughter is. If you're corporate, understand that the $127 you save per week per store bought you a national news story, a wrongful death lawsuit, and the knowledge that Jessica Martinez is somewhere in the wilderness because you decided 2 people closing was too expensive. If you work in healthcare, comment below about your safety protocols when closing alone. If you park in the same spot every day, change it. If you've ever had that feeling someone is watching you, paying too much attention, asking questions that don't fit, trust it. Jessica Martinez had that feeling. She mentioned to a coworker in March that a regular customer made her uncomfortable. She didn't report it because what would she report? A polite customer who asks questions. There's no crime there until there is. Her instinct was right. She ignored it because ignoring it was part of customer service. Part of being professional. That instinct could have saved her life. David Pritchard is in a maximum security prison in Colorado. He gets letters every month from Emma and Lucas, written by their grandmother, asking where their mommy is. He never responds. Forensic psychologists say he enjoys having that control, having that secret. Jessica's mother visits the 14 search sites every year on April 2nd. She brings flowers. She doesn't know which one is right. So she brings flowers to all of them. Emma and Lucas are in therapy. They have nightmares. They ask if mommy is cold wherever she is. They ask if she knows they miss her. They ask when she's coming home. And nobody can answer because only one person knows where Jessica Martinez is. And he'll never tell. And the pharmacy where she worked is open tonight. Staffed by one person. Closing alone. Following the same protocols. Parking in the same spots. Working for the same company that calculated that $127 per week is more valuable than preventing another disappearance. Jessica Martinez is still out there somewhere. And until David Pritchard decides to speak, she'll stay there. And until CVS decides that safety matters more than profit, someone else will join her.